G'day, we are continuing on our string challenge. We are right at the very end of it here. So my plan for today is obviously we've got all of this to connect. But beyond that, we just have a few bigger countries left. Now, those bigger countries are basically New Zealand, who, if the game still cooperates with us, we now have, and we've got Wellington straight away, and I'm also going to bring in Antarctica straight away. So, and there we go, there's our first city just up here. Interestingly, unlike any other place, obviously Antarctica doesn't have a capital city, so the first city I think you get in Antarctica is random. This, I guess, makes it unique to everywhere else. You can see that it doesn't have that sort of second circle around it like a capital city would. So, the idea here is that today, what we're going to try and do is join together basically what we've got in Southeast Asia. Then, once I'm finished sort of filming this one today, I'm then going to let this run for 5-10 hours or so and see what cities we get. Because basically beyond this, we've only got the 4 island nations left. So Fiji, Vanuatu, New Caledonia, and Solomon Islands are not even really big enough to have more than 2 cities. So I can't imagine that too many cities are going to get lost through the end. So what we're rooting for, though, is really we want to see enough tiny little cities in Antarctica that what we can have is we sort of loop through Oceania and then connect to Antarctica and then have enough cities to connect all the way along and end up back at the start of our connection. So you can see obviously right here, this is a lovely little connection, at least to start with. So that's our sort of first point of contact, and we may as well connect that guy because he's not going to be connecting to anything else. I mean, in theory, I could connect him through the southern tip here, but sort of what bounce out, bounce back in. We'll come down here, out and across. But whatever the next route is on this side is surely going to be way longer than that anyway. So it's going to pretty quickly become a shorter route. So there's no point in sort of rebuilding that, especially at this point. So the end of the last episode as well, we had a couple of cities just sort of show up in America, North America. So just going to do a quick little sweep to make sure that we haven't missed any cities. I say we, because if I've missed one, it's also your fault. Just make sure that we've got everything. I'm pretty sure I did a pretty full sweep last time too. But we are looking pretty good with the exception of Southeast Asia. I think we've gotten all of Russia connected. We have a few red cities about though. And that's just this load. It isn't really something that we can going to worry about managing at this point. I might come back to that. Possibly as well, while I'm letting those next 10 hours go, I might upgrade the amount of planes on routes. I don't know if the amount of planes on routes though is going to make this even more laggy than it already is. We shall see. Okay, so I think these 3 cities up here, nice and easy sort of logic to connect them. I was going to say we go sort of up, down, but I actually think it's going to be closer if we go up, across, like we'll leave all of our routes slightly shorter, because otherwise Luang, Prabang would sort of, to there would be the longest route in this section, whereas if we sort of scooch back into Nan, and then back across to Vientiane. These are going to be tricky ones for my pronunciation because there's very hard vowels, I think, in Vietnamese. Although Vietnamese is over here. Vietnam's over there, rather. But I assume that that's Cambodia and Thailand sort of hit them the same way. I mean, what city names do I know? I know it's Bangkok. But again, it's Phuket. Yeah, not a lot of them. Alright, so with our new connections here, let's do the tedious thing of having to make these level 6s. And we will just upgrade these cities all the way to the max. Oh, that gets a bonus upgrade. Okay, so these two are, I mean, this whole Vietnamese line is pretty clear. But currently what we've got is our line's currently ending here, and that's probably not what we want. We actually want the line to end here. So I think what we'll do is let's think about where these cities are, because basically what we want to do is run down Vietnam, up into Cambodia, and across, and then hook down. So how many of these cities could we claim? I actually think we claim everything south of there and south of here. When you remove a route, it freaks at the moment. Remove that, because then what we can do is we can take these 3 new routes, 3 new cities rather. I mean, I say new, but I'm sure they've been sitting there for hours waiting for me to get to them. So we go 1, 2, 2. So this guy here. So we know that that's Phuket, so that it's a the H doesn't really sort of like influence it much. Hit San in Sanaluk. Maybe. I would genuinely be curious as well that if I do put in that that looping effect through Antarctica, what the effect has on the entire network. Like, assumably it means that there's then going to be planes that are going the opposite way. That if Los Angeles wants to get to China, they'll go through Oceania to get there. Like, you wouldn't go all the way through Africa or anything. But I'm also curious to see how logically the game can work that out in its head. Like, I mean, I obviously can't track that because I can't sort of... It would be tough to trace, say, a plane full of Los Angeles... Los Angelians. I suppose actually if I went to Los Angeles and clicked on the city either north or south of it, I could pretty easily see which city is getting more is getting more, say, Chinese travelers. Like, are they heading south out of there or are they heading north? Okay, so we get rid of that one. Connect these two. Kanchanaburi. No. Gone way off track there. Yeah, what I would like to do in that 10 hours too is start to try and connect, or start to upgrade all the airports to potentially so that it can hold more people, so that it's not as easy to go to red. Which, I mean, but that again is only a temporary fix by any means, because it means that eventually enough passengers are going to backlog at any point that essentially, if there's more than what 1,200 seats at an airport, then if you've got an efficient line, then it shouldn't be maxing out, because the line should just hit that, because it means that more people are being delivered to the airport than are being taken from the airport. So the size of the airport shouldn't do anything unless you just want that fix of a moment of upgrading them all and it suddenly being like, oh look, you're in the green ever so slightly. It is purely going to be the amount of planes on a line. And that would mean that I would have to click on each line and add planes, and I would have to upgrade them because, again, this thing doesn't just let you upgrade, like put in a level 6 plane, it only lets you do a level 5 plane, which is still killing me. And I'm amazed that 2 upgrades haven't had like a... I mean, I don't follow the Discord or anything, but if the Discord was sort of like, I would have thought that would have been a major piece of feedback. Like, just let us do a maximum plane. But if I could just do max planes, that would be so easy, because I could just sit on a line and go 1, 2, 3, 4. Whereas now I have to do that, and then I have to go find those planes, individually max them out. Almost doesn't feel worth it. But they may just end up getting level 5 planes. Okay, so from here, this guy can go straight up, or he can go there, but we can't have Ho Chi Minh connect to Kamau, because they'll cross across this guy. So either I have to go like that, or I have to go like that, and I think that's going to be the shorter route. So that route I already got rid of, connecting these two, is pointless. But then also, Ho Chi Minh going the other way, we need to get rid of this guy. And slowly, ever so slowly, connect these. We can, though. Ever so slowly. Alright, and while we're doing that, let's learn about our newest connections. So, New Zealand. That's it. It's not anything else. Just New Zealand. And hopefully I don't murder this. You could also call it by its Maori name, which is Aotearoa. Aotearoa. Roa. It would end in Roa. Aotearoa. Hopefully I got close there. Oh, you got a second plane. Alright, so it consists of 2 main islands, unsurprisingly, the North Island and the South Island. They didn't get too creative when naming their islands. New Zealand. And over 700 smaller islands. It's the 6th largest island country by area, covering at 268,000 square kilometres. New Zealand is about 2,000 kilometres east of Australia, across the Tasman Sea, and 1,000 kilometres south of the islands of New Caledonia, Fiji, and Tonga. If you ever needed to get to the islands of the Pacific, Auckland, New Zealand is definitely where you go. I sat in Auckland Airport and looked at a lot of destinations on international flights and thought, I have no idea where those towns are. And so there's some real small island nations that you can get to from Auckland. If you ever feel like doing a little island hop in the South Pacific, Auckland's your best base. Does it give us a distance from... it doesn't give us a distance from the Antarctica. The furthest south I've been in the world is on New Zealand. That's a fun little fact for you. I have gone to, just quickly we can jump down, Invercargill, which is down here. I think it's there, but I thought it's the most southern point of New Zealand. That may be, we might be a little bit extra tilted there. If you go to Invercargill and you go south to the... So Invercargill's not directly on the coast. It's probably about 20 minutes from the coast. If you go down the coast down there, there's actually a chain, a huge chain that you can see going into the water. And it's a statue representing Maui, who you may know from Moana, chaining Stewart Island to the mainland of New Zealand. So if you think about like the different sort of Maui song "You're Welcome" and all the different things that he did in Maori mythology, he chained Stewart Island to the mainland of New Zealand. And if you go to the very south of New Zealand, you can see that chain. Well, a representation of that chain. It's not really doing it. it's still pretty cool. Population of New Zealand, 5 million. If you've ever, I don't know if any New Zealanders listen and are going to take offense to me incorrectly identifying anything, but to me, the North Island of New Zealand and the South Island are very different places. The North Island is like you're just going to another state of Australia. Like, it has the exact same feel as Australia. Auckland, Wellington, believably could just be parts, like Australian cities. They have much larger Maori populations than a lot of Australian cities. That's not to say that there aren't large Maori populations in Australia as well, but on the other hand, when you go to the South Island of New Zealand, that feels like you're in Europe. It's insane how different those two islands are. Like, if you're a fan of Lord of the Rings and like the scenery and all that, that literally is the Southern Island of New Zealand. It is a stunning place. Yeah, it's like, yeah, you're in like the Alps and like through Switzerland or something. It's insanely pretty. The other funny thing is there's a lot of backpackers in the South Island, so to really hit that home, every time you go to a restaurant or a pub or something, it's an Irish girl serving you at the pub, or it's a French guy taking your bags at the hotel. Like, so it gives you that extra feel of Europe because everyone there actually is European. Also in the Southern Island, you can go and see condors. I think near Dunedin in the south is the only mainland location where condors land and nest. That's quite cool. Why are you saying you're not connected? Is that running straight through? That's why. Thank you, exclamation mark. Otherwise, Niai would never have been connected. New Zealand has a very similar flag to Australia. It has the Southern Cross, just like Australia does, but it's red as opposed to Australia just having it as white. Australia's also got an extra star in the Southern Cross than what New Zealand is. I'm not sure if that's because you can't see that star from New Zealand, or New Zealand just doesn't consider that star as important to being the Southern Cross. There's also another star on the Australian flag, which just represents the states of Australia that New Zealand doesn't have. New Zealand did go for look into getting a new flag a few years ago, and they sort of ended up just sticking with what they had. I don't think it's disappointing. I think that if you've ever seen the black and white flag of a fern leaf, to me that should be the flag of New Zealand. That feels much more personally New Zealand than Union Jack does. I mean, I don't think Australia should have the Union Jack flag either. But, anyway. Plenty of the places in the world, plenty of the islands in down here also have it, courtesy of Captain Cook swimming around, sailing around down here and claiming everything for Britain. Lots of countries that could benefit from a quick makeover of their flag. Now, I've connected this guy this way, but I don't know if I should. I could bounce up and around, or I could just give... I think maybe it will claim this guy to the east, and then we'll claim that guy to the west. Australia, I think, also... Well, we had a vote for to become a republic like 20 years ago, and that also failed. Although I think some people suspected that once the Queen died, we would probably have another crack at becoming independent, and that might go through. Or a republic. And at that point, I think Australia also sort of, not necessarily that we were genuinely looking at changing the flag, but we sort of threw out the hypothetical of, well, if we did have a become independent, should we change our flag? Or we would have to change our flag because to get rid of the Union Jack. Now, I don't think we ever got anything past or close. I just feel like I remember on the news seeing like people showing terrible drawings of pictures that they'd done of what they should think our flag should be. My current pitch of if I think that Australia should change its flag, what should it change it to? If you're familiar with the Australian Aboriginal flag, which is a yellow circle in the middle, red ground on the bottom, black sky above, I think that what you could possibly do is you don't want to steal that flag because, again, you don't want to take anything more from the Aboriginal people of Australia, but what if you went same style, yellow sun in the middle, but then you know that in everything that Australia does, we favour the green and gold in what we do. So gold sun in the middle, green ground on the bottom of the flag, blue sky on the top. So it's basically the exact same as the the Aboriginal flag, but it's just different colours. Potentially, you could also then put a Southern Cross on it in the sky, since there is sky in that represented in that picture. I think it's also like a nice reference to sort of acknowledgement of the Aboriginal flag, but it's not. You wouldn't see it and go, that's the Aboriginal flag. It would be that if you had that beside the Aboriginal flag, they look like two flags that actually are sort of partnered and that they complement each other. And I think that would be cool. And it would give us all of those colours that, Australia for, the green and gold. And I guess occasionally we wear blue and things too. Yeah, anyway, that's flag talk for this episode. All right, so what are we going to do with this guy? He is sitting exactly so due north of Guio. Apologies, Biguio, for the pronunciation. That I can't have either of these two guys connect to Manila without them sort of piercing the other one. So it means that what we're going to have to do is have this long route become even longer and run all the way up there. So, I mean, we might get lucky and have a city appear somewhere on the east top, but I won't hold our breath. The other thing that would be great for Australia to change is our national anthem. Just going on things that I would like to see different. Our national anthem is so boring and does not inspire anything, I think. I think it's such a dull song that absolutely consider changing that. It's so funny because I can't remember why, but the other day my daughter did something. She's 6, and I started singing the national anthem at her, and she hates it. She's like, that song. She's now at school, and so that is now something that she has to hear. And she's like, that song, I hate that song. It's so boring. Like, yes, it is. It did not take you long. Get ready for 13 more years of having that every week. And also, same as the flag, do I have a suggestion for what our national anthem should be? Absolutely. It should be I Am Australian by the Proclaimers. That song. That is the song that makes you feel patriotic about us being an Australian. Okay, so that's looking way worse than it did before. I'm just going to give this guy a second plane. I think that one's going to be nasty. Now, I could connect this guy all the way up to Manila, but again, that would be a pretty long flight, and I reckon that would be longer than this flight. So it doesn't seem like that's going to work overly well. I think that this guy's actually, he's definitely close to this guy. That's his closest connection. So I think it's actually in here that we connect this guy, that he goes between these two. Now I've got can't remember what my plan was for down here, but I realized that we've got an end here, so this part we're going to start running all the way down through here. Then we also have an end there. So what are we currently... Oh, right, this is just a loop. So it's just at some point we have this connect in, and then we have the other end connect out. Okay, that's fine, yeah. Let's get rid of this guy. Let's upgrade that guy. The one thing I would like to do at some point in this is count how many cities I have. Like how many have we actually gained through this whole exercise. And I do eagerly look, and it will be the final part of this series, is I'll save the game, and then I will connect the last country, and it will award me as like completing it, and we can see how many passengers have arrived at their destinations. And I'll be definitely curious to see that. It should be in the millions, I would have thought. This has been going for... I mean, obviously there's the off-camera stuff as well, where I've let it play to add more cities. Surely, the amount of planes currently in the air, the amount of passengers, like if there's 600 people in each of these planes, I mean, it's taking them a very long time to get to their destination. The fact that this number is going up at all amazes me that anyone is getting to where they're trying to get to. Yes. So I think that we go... Now the good thing is, I suppose, we sort of have two paths that can be run through Indonesia. Like, so for example, if this guy connected to there, he could loop up and come through all this way. Rather, sorry, let me redo that. If we have this side of this loop come down here and connect to Surabaya and then go 1, 2, 3. Jakarta doesn't quite work, neither does that one. Say bounce up and then loop and then come back down. It means that all we would have to do coming through this part is just connect in here, and then it just runs and does the loop, and then we come back to connect. So I think that we can... No, not Singapore. We want the one just south of it. Are you going to let me... Good. I think that's the connection that we want to see, connecting this island to the north. Gotta upgrade those guys. New Zealand, we can still talk about New Zealand as well while we go on. The other cool thing about New Zealand is if you go to Wellington, so their capital, that's where the Weta Workshop is. So if you're curious and stuff like Lord of the Rings, you can go see the studio that made that. The gift shop there is really cool. Like if you have if you love statues, have a look at Weta's website, weta.com, and you can check out a whole bunch of really cool statues that they've got. Just on the so the other cool thing in Wellington is that being home of where Lord of the Rings was sort of made, in Wellington Airport, on the roof is Gandalf flying on some of the giant eagles. He's only flying on one, but there's a few giant eagles, I think, and Gandalf flying on one of them. So again, that's pretty cool if you ever want to have a look at Wellington Airport. And just on the other side of the water, so on the north end of the southern island, there is a museum called Omada. Omada? I think it's called Omada. Definitely starts with an O. And what it is it's the other thing that Peter Jackson loves is airplanes and sort of airplane history. And Omada is a museum for World War One airplanes. So I think that he's recreated the airplanes that are in there, and it's got mannequins and things to sort of like set up scenes of like how crazy basic the aeroplanes were in World War One. There's not too much in the north of the Southern Island, but definitely that's pretty cool to see. I'm not sure you'd day trip it if you're staying in Wellington. Another cool thing in Wellington actually is there's the bigatures. So in one of the museums there, I can't think of its name. It's not the War Memorial, but one of the other ones. They've got these mannequins that are like set up as their World War II, but as opposed to being normal size or miniature, they're bigature. So they're like 4 times the size of a normal person, and they're pretty cool, something to see too. So definitely, there's a lot of Peter Jackson stuff in Wellington and around that it's cool to see. I think that, yeah, all of these guys belong together. The question is, where are we exiting? So we're definitely going there, but are we getting out? It doesn't look like we're going to go that way. It looks like East Timor is going to be our path east. Papua New Guinea is a lot of rainforest, so you can see the cities are on that side. On this side would just be tribes and rainforest, birds of paradise. If you've ever seen David Attenborough talk about them, that's in here. We're going to be seeing that. So I would imagine equally this is just going to be a lot of rainforest, so there wouldn't be too much in the way of airports on that island. The question really is, where are we going from here? Like, do we actually have this come down and loop and go back, and then we have this guy head down that way? Because in which case maybe this is meant to connect to there. So let's work it on that theory. Slowly. Get rid of that one. You're not green, which suggests you're not properly upgraded up here. And I'm pretty happy to see that we're spending so much money on these airports. 250,000, right? The fact that we're staying at about $44 million suggests that we're not sort of... We must be gaining cash at a decent clip. 64, 12,000. No, it's just 25,000. It's not 250,000. All right, that makes more sense. Okay, so now we've got to figure out how to get down. The problem is this guy's got Jakarta in the way, so he can't really go that way. What we're hoping is this guy arcs out. Good. Does make that quite a long route. Might give him a second plane too. There we got Darwin. Okay. If you want to see big crocodiles in Australia, this is where you want to go. That's very close. Now, I would actually suspect that Darwin's going to be pretty far removed from the other cities we get in Australia. You could get Broome, which is, I think, here, and Townsville, Cairns, which are both sort of up here. But I would expect that we're not going to see much in the realm of here. Alice Springs down here, maybe. There's going to be a large sort of circle around Darwin that would make me say that it's going to be pretty isolated, and probably East Timor is going to be its connecting point. Alright, well that has brought us to the end of this episode. Didn't read about Antarctica, but I can tell you population 0, capital city is nothing. But we'll for all of time in the next one to have a read. I just had too many opinions on New Zealand and then in turn Australia. So what I would say is that I'll take a let the game run for a while to see what sort of cities we get, because we can see that Australia is starting to get a few more. New Zealand already had 4 or so. Got more. You get someone else? No, that's the only extra one. So we've got the 4 cities of New Zealand, and in Antarctica we have to sort of zoom in so we can actually see the country. So far just the 1. Now assumably the populations of those are going to be minuscule, so I can imagine that it's not going to be the most forthcoming in handing those over. But in trying to capture what we've just unlocked, we sort of have to look at the whole map. See if we can get a picture in there. Like, there you go, that's it, just in there. There's a lot of cities that need upgrading apparently. This may surprise you. Any questions or comments, feel free to chuck them below. And until next time, catch you later. See ya.